Rahm, I don't think you're going to announce one way or another on this
I am
program
not.
whether you're going to run for president. But you haven't been shy about critiquing the Democratic Party, and, and
Your
you
ability,
say,
your
and you,
ability to spot the obvious is a
it's
gift,
it's
Mr. Redman.
amazing. It's taken years. You say you're, quote, done with the discussion of locker rooms. I'm done with the discussion of bathrooms, and we better start having a conversation about the classroom. Now, bathrooms in this context means transgender rights in general.
Hmm.
You'd like Democrats to be done with that, but Republicans clearly aren't. Should Democrats?
First off, what is he talking about? Republicans clearly aren't. We are. We don't care about them. We don't care about these mentally ill people. Okay.
Not one bit. Mm-mm.
What are your thoughts there, Nicole, before we continue?
You know, if we were half the things that the uber leftist liberals, Democrats call us, we would be too busy to work. We would be too busy to tend to our families. We are none of these things. Republicans are made up of free thinking individuals. And, you know, sometimes it is like herding cats because everybody's got their own idea. I wish we were as together as they say we are, that everybody's a monolith and we march to the same drum. That's not the case. And we are certainly nothing that this guy is going to say during this interview. Please believe me. It's just going to go straight downhill hill from here, you guys. This is really interesting that Rahm Emanuel, who is an absolute leftist, actually sounds kind of centrist in this whole interview.
Yeah.
Really be silent in response to attacks on trans people? It just seems that this line is clever, but it doesn't do service to some human beings who want their rights.
Well, two things. Since it's about education, and I spent a good part of my tenure, the entire tenure as mayor, taking the worst public school system to what Sean Reardon and Stanford called the single best. In 2016, I passed a law, a decade ago, on bathroom access. Did I take my eye off of the graduation rates that we took from 56 to 84%? Not a chance. That's why parents send kids to school. Did I take my eye off?
Why can't you do both?
Because you have an issue in which coming out of COVID also is a lightning rod that distracted. I didn't take Abraham Lincoln's name off a school in San Francisco. I didn't ask for defunding the police. I didn't get yourselves wrapped around the axle on the term Latinx, which nobody identifies with. It was an example, David, not just of this particular issue, of a party when people's backs are against the wall. They're holding on to that windowsill and they can't make a college payment. They can't make a home mortgage payment. Their health care is now being denied to them. They expect us Democrats to show up. And we're showing up talking about bathroom access, sporting events, who gets to participate. We just come out of COVID. Our reading scores and math scores are in the tank. 50% of our kids cannot read or do math at grade level. And we're going to talk about bathroom access? So my view is if you want to win elections and you also want to help kids get prepared for the future, focus on the bottom line of what schools. I
understand that, Brown, but all I would say that there were times in earlier times with other groups that didn't have their rights, and they were told to be patient too, and focus on their rights was distracting. That's what Letter from Birmingham Jail is all about.
Stop it. Stop it. This is what they do all the time, and it pisses me off. He wants to ride the backs of Black folks from the civil rights movement, and it is not the same. Shelley, what are your thoughts here on what he just said?
First of all, Rahm is making, more and more people appreciate, like you said, Nicole, the center, the moderate Democrats. That's number one. Number two, just like we said in the earlier segment, Jasmine Crockett's, the Crumps and the Sharptons, these are the same Black people that don't even focus on the issues that really matter to Black people, okay? Right. Rahm is talking about education, illiteracy, having a higher graduation rate, and he demonstrated it to a degree under his tenure as mayor. All right, look, I'm no fan necessarily. I'm not voting for Rahm Emanuel, but to your point, KJ, I'm staying here until after the election day. I am not betting the midterms on whether there's internal conflict within the Democratic Party.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, let's keep going because we still have some more. I thought you were going to respond to what I said, but let's keep going.
Okay.
Versus urgency.
Well, as a country, we proved we couldn't do it. Because you haven't told me and asked me a single question how to get 50% of our kids.
Get there.
No, wait a second. Wait a second. You started where you thought was a priority. Mm-hmm. I'm going to tell you You may
No, but
not
I'm
like
asking
it.
you. I'm asking you, Ram, about what's become, and in a lot of your speeches and interviews, a kind of a tagline to differentiate yourself. I think that's the
It's not just a
motivation.
tagline.
Yeah.
I passed a bill in 2016, 10 years beforehand. I made sure the kids had access to a bathroom. I just didn't let it distract from reading, math, or graduation rates. This is why went down to Mississippi before anybody knew about the reading scores, because I pay attention to this. Not that others don't, but they went from 49 to 9. You have a president of the United States who's never mentioned it. No governor has called for an emergency meeting like you had other governors of both parties. Mayors aren't doing anything. You don't have a Department of Education, and people have accepted failure when and 50% of our kids can't read in third grade level.
So let's unpack what he's saying here. Okay. The failure is in the blue states primarily. All right. What's up, everybody? This is Poppin' Politics. Get your merch. Are you a Poppin' Politics fan? Are you unapologetically American? Or not black, not white American? We got it all for you right here. Get your merch.
Get the classic shirt. Classic. Goes with everything, comes in a variety of colors. Smart, edgy, conservative, like us, like you. This is a great way to support the channel. Click the merch button.
There is no shame in being an American. Get your shirt today and be unapologetic about it. Get your shirt, wear it, and be a proud American.
You can get it all in t-shirts and hoodies. You can get it in stickers, on bags. You can get it all on our website, metroconservativemedia.com, or our YouTube page, Pop and Politics, and tag over to store. You can get your merch and show you're proud to be an American and support Pop and Politics. That's where the failure is, because of people like that reporter who want to focus on the trans and environmental issues and don't want to talk about or focus on the things that matter, like putting more money back in our pockets by not heavy taxing and feeing us out the wazoo like they do in these blue states, okay? Like targeting the education system instead of talking about bedroom rights and who's screwing who. Get back to math and reading in your state. That's the issue, Nicole. And I gotta get back to this because it really pissed me off. What do you think about what he said? Because the left continues to try to do this. They want to tie in civil rights of Black folks to the trans rights.
Right.
What are your thoughts there, Nicole?
This is the same thing. When I tell you that brown is the new black, queer is the new straight. They've taken our culture and turned it upside down. It's like they've played a very intense game of what if anything could be anything you wanted it to be. And all of these weird ass ideas came up and they said, okay, well, great, we can do that. This man is pushing culture instead of education. And when you hear Democrats talk about schools, they're not talking about the children and they're not talking about education. They're talking about teacher salary and pay in the union and culture. These are the two things that they talk about when they talk about education. This is why their panties are in a bunch about the Department of Education, because that's typically where these culture ideas would be forced on school systems. If you don't have LGBTQIA and trans kids allowed to use the bathroom of their choice, then you're in violation of federal law. That kind of thing would come from the Department of Education. It's not going to come out of Trump's Department of Education, make no mistake, the little bit of it that's still standing because it's being dismantled. But with that said, Rahm Emanuel has a history of standing up against the teachers union, not because he's some huge proponent of teachers and that kind of thing, but he does, for whatever reason, have a vested interest in children. He really has. And I don't like him as a person. I didn't like him associating with, the Barack Obama administration. I got issues with him. But on this one point, we do agree. COVID didn't help any child. No kid came out of COVID better than they went in. It was devastating. And what we see now, and these kids are starving for any kind of socialization. When you see these huge teen meetups and people are like, well, we didn't do that in our day. That's because we saw each other 8-9 hours a day, 5 days a week. We didn't want to meet up on the weekend. We didn't want to be in another school situation all weekend. But these were kids who were robbed of years and were sitting in the house with their parents if they had parents at home. They were robbed of that socialization, and now they're overcompensating. And for a large part, I think Rahm is right. The Democrat Party is paying attention to the wrong things.
Absolutely. And the data shows it. The NAEP score declines showed that between 2019 to 2024, blue states were hit the hardest. Okay. So states that put these draconian COVID rules and regulations on when we were going through the scamdemic, like California, New York, Illinois, New Jersey, they have a bigger remote learning loss. They have bigger remote learning gaps, especially in poor districts. All right. Then you look at places in states like Florida and Texas, where they had very strong recovery and less loss overall. Shelley, what are your final thoughts on this?
Yeah, the data does continuously show that. One of the things, speaking of education, which Rahm, he alluded to, he's talking about Mississippi. Mississippi deserves a shout out because in their education, they have gone, I can't remember it was very high, a poor ranking to like one of the top 10, maybe 20 school districts across the country, if you will. So they have improved in their reading, their math, graduation. I think their policy is now that they do not graduate students or to the next level if they cannot read, write, and perform the state assessment test. So shout out to Mississippi in the South, okay? Again, the same Mississippi that Benjamin Crump and Al Sharpton want to use as a backdrop for the Mississippi burning of 2026. So that's what they're doing. But you're right. Again, these policies, the Democratic Party, they do not focus on the policies that actually will help the same people they claim to be helping. And again, all the internal conflict, I appreciate Rahm, challenging the people in his party, all these other blue dog Democrats, but they still have a problem on their hand because believe it or not, many of these DSA, Marxist, Islamist types are winning lots of primaries across the country. That's why I'm staying here until after the election. I'm not betting on their internal conflict. And we still need to get our message out. And that's how you all can help us out there in chat land, liking, sharing, and subscribing to this channel, sharing these podcasts, because we have, as what's his name, Paul Harvey used to say, the rest of the story that you won't hear in mainstream media. You won't hear it with the general lefty media type things like that, but you will hear it here.